Hello beloved souls, thank you for tuning into the Spiritual Podcasts channel. This channel is all about good vibes, positive energy, and meaningful conversations. To keep this space welcoming for everyone, we kindly ask that comments stay respectful, kind, and in the spirit of the content shared here. We reserve the right to delete any comments that don't align with this intention. No hard feelings, just protecting the vibe. Thanks for being here and spreading the light. Please be cautious of anyone claiming to represent Spiritual Podcast and asking you for money, donations, or personal information. We will never ask you for money through comments, messages, or DMs. All official updates and content come only from this channel. If you see suspicious activity, please report it immediately. Stay safe and thank you for being part of our community. If you enjoy the video and its content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Please be kind to other viewers of the channel. The video is about to start.
Have you ever wondered why some people seem to just bounce back from adversity? I mean, they show this almost, supernatural resilience, while others really struggle even when they're facing, remarkably similar challenges.
It's a common observation, isn't it?
Or maybe why one person might get sick in a room full of healthy people. Or the opposite, someone heals against all odds, miraculously even.
While others, maybe with all the best resources, just don't achieve that same healing.
Exactly. These aren't just like idle thoughts. They're really profound questions, right? They touch the essence of our experience way beyond just physical health.
Indeed. And what these questions always seem to point to is something deeper, a more intricate interplay of factors, things beyond the purely physical or what we can easily measure.
Right.
They strongly suggest that our internal landscape, our emotional state, our psychological framework, even our spiritual outlook, plays this absolutely crucial and often really underestimated role. A role in our capacity for wellness, for recovery, and for, genuine transformation.
Absolutely, and that's precisely what we're digging into today. We're diving deep into this fascinating, incredibly insightful question from one of our listeners. Do I allow myself to be cured?
Powerful question.
It is, and it's not just about recovering from, say, a physical sickness in the usual medical way. It's about a profound sort of holistic personal transformation that truly influences our well-being on every single level.
Every level.
So for this deep dive, we've got this rich collection of sources, spiritual teachings, really personal stories, psychological insights. A lot of it is woven together from a really thought-provoking lecture by Rossandro Clingy, the Brazilian philosopher and psychologist.
Clingy. Yes, he does have a way of blending these things.
He really does. He masterfully mixes biblical stories, these compelling real-life experiences, and modern psychological concepts. It creates this, truly compelling narrative.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to really explore these emotional, psychological, and spiritual dimensions, the things that either open us up to healing, maybe consciously or unconsciously.
Or hold us back.
Or hold us back, exactly. We're going to uncover some surprising facts, maybe challenge a few assumptions along the way, and present some profound insights to help you, the listener, understand the patterns of conduct, those internal shifts, the conscious choices that make us available for what, some might even call a miracle.
Okay.
So get ready to connect the dots, between your inner world and your profound, often untapped capacity for wellness.
Okay, so let's get into it. We'll start with a story many of you probably recognize. It's a really powerful passage from the Gospels, Matthew and Luke. The healing of Bartimaeus, the blind beggar.
Right.
So Jesus, at this point, he's a very well-known healer. His reputation is out there. And naturally, this huge crowd, a multitude, is following him. Many are seeking a cure for something. But here's where it gets really illuminating, kind of setting the stage for our whole discussion. Not everyone in that massive crowd finds healing.
That's the key detail, isn't it? Often missed.
It is.
And it immediately brings up this important question for us to think about. If Jesus had this power, why weren't all of them healed?
Yeah, why not?
The source challenges us to think beyond simple answers. It suggests it wasn't about a lack of fiches, that's the term Clingy uses, like slots or capacity, almost like Jesus had a limited energy bar or something.
Right, not like that.
No. Instead, it points to something much more nuanced, more personal. A crucial internal component within the individual seeking the healing. A unique disposition that sets some apart from the rest of that crowd.
So, something within them.
Yes. It implies an active part, not just passively receiving, on the part of the one seeking the cure.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. And to illustrate this even more, our source brings up that other story, the woman who suffered from bleeding for years. Remember her?
The hemorrhage.
She touched Jesus in that dense crowd, and he immediately felt power leave him. He stopped, turned around, and asked, "Who touched me?"
And the apostles were baffled.
Totally baffled, understandably so. They're like, "What do you mean, who touched you? Look at this crowd." Klinge likens it to trying to figure out who brushed against, I don't know, a global superstar at Rio Carnival. Impossible.
Right. Millions of people.
Yet, Jesus knew. And more importantly, she knew.
Yeah.
Because she allowed herself to receive that power, that healing grace.
Her intention was different.
Exactly. It was a process others in the multitude who just physically brushed against him without that same intention or, well, conviction. They didn't permit it.
Didn't allow it in.
Right. And this sets the stage beautifully for Bartimaeus, because it really highlights that intention and openness are absolutely key. So Bartimaeus is there, a blind beggar sitting by the roadside near Jericho, his usual spot. He hears the commotion, the buzz that Jesus is about to pass by. And the first critical step, our source highlights, is his movement. He gets up.
He acts.
Yes, this isn't about passively waiting for healing to just, find you. It's about actively seeking it out, even from your place of pain, from your spot as a beggar.
Right.
Imagine, if some life-changing opportunity was passing through your city's main street.
Yeah.
Klinge uses the example of Rua 15 in Curitiba, that busy pedestrian street.
Okay.
You'd have to make the effort to get there, wouldn't you? You couldn't just sit at home.
No, you'd have to go.
This initial act, just getting up and moving, signifies a crucial inner decision.
Indeed. It's far from passive, just sitting and suffering. It signifies a profound internal shift. Bartimaeus makes the conscious decision to leave his familiar zone of pain.
His comfort zone, even if it's painful.
Exactly. The predictable discomfort of his begging spot. And he actively moves toward the possibility of a cure.
Just the possibility.
Yes. So many people remain stuck in their suffering, waiting for, external forces to change things for them, often believing they're just destined to endure it.
Yeah.
Bartimaeus, though, he demonstrates that initial raw courage needed to start that journey, to take responsibility for seeking what he desperately wanted.
Think about it, you listening. How often do we passively endure, maybe even complain about our circumstances, instead of actively seeking out the path to what we really desire?
It's a powerful distinction, isn't it? It shows self-agency, even in the most dire situations.
So Bartimaeus, despite being blind, makes this huge effort to get to where Jesus will pass. But he's not alone, not by a long shot.
I know, it's a multitude.
A multitude of sick people all around him, all trying to get Jesus' attention, all with their own desperate needs. How does one person stand out in that noise, that competition?
How do you get noticed?
How to get noticed in that sea of need? Bartimaeus chooses this powerful, yet really humbling strategy. He starts to cry out loudly, repeatedly, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me."
Yeah.
He doesn't just whisper. He makes his need known, unmistakably.
And this really brings up an important question for all of us.
Yeah.
What does it truly take to ask for help? Especially when you feel insignificant or maybe embarrassed.
Yeah, the vulnerability.
Exactly. Many people struggle with the humility needed to just voice their need to, as Klinge puts it, extend a red flag and just say, "Help me, save me." Bartimaeus' persistence, his loud, repeated appeal, it's such a vivid example of refusing to be silent, refusing to be overlooked.
And what's even more fascinating and just so human is what happens next.
And people try to shut him up.
Yes. Others around him may be annoyed by the disruption. They try to silence him. They tell him, "Be quiet." But the source emphasizes the more they tried to diminish him, the louder he cried out.
Wow.
It's this powerful refusal to be put back in his expected place, the place of silence and suffering. It's a testament to his sheer will.
That strong refusal, that fight, it reminds me of the anecdote Klinge shared about his own mother.
Ah, yes, the lupus diagnosis.
Right, diagnosed with lupus and pulmonary fibrosis, given maybe 2 years to live by the doctor. Devastating prognosis.
Yeah.
But she lived for 12 more years, completely defying the medical expectation.
Incredible. Wow.
Because, as the doctor himself apparently observed, she was a very combative person. She fought with the disease, she fought with the doctors, insisting on every possible avenue for life.
Just wouldn't give up.
Exactly. It mirrors Bartimaeus' refusal to be diminished, his fighting spirit against the odds, his insistence that he would not simply accept his situation as final. It really speaks to an inner force that defies, conventional understanding.
And it works. His persistence pays off. Jesus hears his insistent cries above the crowd and calls him over. But Bartimaeus' next action, though it seems simple, is incredibly profound and symbolic. He immediately threw aside his cloak.
Just tossed it.
Yeah. Now, this wasn't just any old cloak, not just a piece of clothing. Our source explains it was a registered beggar's cape, given specifically by the Roman government.
Oh, okay. So it was official.
Very official. It was a symbol of his identity, his legal right to beg, his security, however meager that was. Only registered beggars could wear one and collect alms.
So it was literally his livelihood.
His livelihood and his identity all wrapped up in that one garment.
Wow. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, that act becomes this powerful metaphor, doesn't it? For shedding the old creature, like letting go of an old limiting identity.
Completely.
Bartimaeus quite literally lets go of his established identity, his fears, his attachment to what he thought was necessary for survival.
Everything he knew.
Everything. It's a profound leap of faith, an act of radical trust that if he decided to go towards this new possibility, he shouldn't look back.
No looking back.
In the source, Clingy, he humorously suggests that other beggars probably scrambled for that abandoned cape.
Right, because it was valuable in that context.
Exactly. It highlights how something so valuable to one person, a symbol of security, however meager, becomes utterly irrelevant, disposable even, when a greater opportunity for true transformation arises.
Yeah.
It's such a decisive break from the past, a commitment to a new way of being before he even knew what that new way would look like.
It really makes you pause, doesn't it? Makes you reflect. What capes are you, the listener, holding on to in your own life?
Good question.
What old identities or ingrained fears or limiting beliefs have become so familiar, so much a part of your story that you're clinging to them, maybe out of habit or perceived necessity?
Even when they're weighing you down.
Exactly. Weighing you down, preventing you from stepping into a new, more expansive reality. It really boils down to, what are we truly willing to release to gain something infinitely more valuable? So Bartimaeus finally reaches Jesus after all that effort, the crying out, shedding the cloak, and Jesus asks him directly, what do you want me to do for you?
Seems obvious, right?
Totally. He's blind. But this isn't just a rhetorical question, not just Jesus testing it.
No, it's deeper.
It's about conscious intention. It's about knowing exactly what you're asking for, having that clear, undeniable focus on your desire.
And Bartimaeus knows.
Oh, he knows. His answer is immediate. No hesitation, no ambiguity. I want to see.
Clear as day. And Jesus' response is just as potent, just as insightful. Go, your faith has healed you.
Your faith has healed you.
Yes. This highlights that Bartimaeus' healing wasn't some passive gift just handed to him. It was a direct result of his active faith, his persistence, his willingness to change, and his clear, unwavering intention.
All those steps he took.
All those steps. And what's even more significant is that the story doesn't just end there, with his sight restored and him just wandering off back to his old life.
Right, he doesn't just disappear.
No, he immediately followed Jesus along the road. Which signifies a commitment not just to a one-time physical cure, but to continue the process. A commitment to a sustained journey of transformation and a new way of living. His healing wasn't just a moment, it was the beginning of a whole new path.
That's a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that, tragicomic example the source provided.
Yeah.
It really underscores the difference between just managing symptoms temporarily and true, lasting transformation.
The family member in treatment.
Yes. He spoke of a family member undergoing some treatment who would promise, okay, I won't speak ill of others during the treatment.
Right.
But then they were eagerly awaiting the end of it so they could go back to their old habits. They were actually heard saying, my tongue is itching. I can't wait for the treatment to end so I can go back to talking badly about people.
Oh my goodness.
It just exemplifies that superficial, temporary compliance versus the genuine change of attitude, the change of personality that Bartimaeus embraced.
It really makes you ask, are we truly seeking transformation, or are we just looking for a brief pause in our old ways before we snap back?
Okay, this next story really struck me. It brings us to this compelling case study of the mind's power over, malady. Our speaker, Clingy, shares this powerful, deeply personal story from a friend of his. A newly graduated doctor working in this tiny town, maybe 5,000 people.
Okay, small town doctor.
He diagnosed a young woman, only maybe 26 to 30 years old, with advanced uterine cancer.
Oh, wow. Advanced?
Yeah. And her circumstances were just heartbreaking. She had 6 children, she was an orphan herself, and her husband had abandoned her.
Goodness.
From a purely medical standpoint, the prognosis was grim. Essentially, a death sentence. There was no conventional medical hope offered.
And this presents such a stark contrast, doesn't it, between that established medical certainty and the profound, often inexplicable power of human will.
Absolutely.
The young doctor, he was visibly shaken, deeply distressed by how advanced the cancer was and just the tragedy of her situation.
Understandably.
He sought a second opinion from a more experienced colleague, even consulted his professor back in the city. He was facing this incredibly difficult task of delivering a no-cure diagnosis. It really reflects the limitations of conventional medicine in a case that dire.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to how deeply it affected him that he actually delayed delivering the news, which was highly unusual for him. He was genuinely distressed, sort of torn between his medical training and his basic human empathy.
So when the doctor finally called her in to deliver this devastating news, she did something completely unexpected, something that just changed the whole direction of the conversation.
What did she do?
She asked him to listen to her first.
Ah.
She recounted her incredibly difficult life. An orphan, abandoned by her husband, now with 6 young children, depending solely on her. Just laid it all out.
Okay.
Then, with this incredible force, this absolute conviction, she looked him right in the eye and told him, "Doctor, I don't know what you saw inside me that left you so distressed, but you have to cure me."
Wow. Not can you, but you have to.
You have to cure me, because my children cannot be without a mother. Give me the medicine that cures me.
What's truly fascinating there is her absolute unshakable conviction, that force of will that just transcended her circumstances.
Indeed.
Despite her simple background, her personality was described as incredibly strong, driven by this undeniable purpose: her children. She didn't ask if she could be cured. She declared that he must cure her. This reveals this powerful internal mechanism, right? Self-preservation, profound purpose that just completely superseded her dire physical state.
What did the doctor do?
Well, he was so impacted, so frankly disoriented by her absolute certainty in the face of his grim prognosis, that he just prescribed a simple pain reliever.
That's it.
That's it. He expected her inevitable decline because medically there was nothing else he felt he could offer.
Wow. Have you ever felt such undeniable, all-consuming purpose, you listening? Something that just overshadows any obstacle, even something as daunting as a terminal illness.
It's a profound question, isn't it? What are we truly living for? What drives us with that level of force?
Okay, get this. 2 years later, the doctor, who had since moved away for his residency in Sao Paulo, visited his old town.
Went back for a visit.
And he saw her, walking towards him, alive and seemingly perfectly well.
No way.
He thought he was seeing a ghost. Or maybe having a hallucination from the shock. He was apparently in a state of panic.
I can imagine.
Until he realized another woman nearby also saw her and recognized her, confirming she was indeed real, alive, vibrant.
Okay, so not a ghost.
Not a ghost. She then approaches him, the doctor, and thanks him, saying the medicine he prescribed was great.
The pain reliever.
The pain reliever. This raises such an important question about the boundaries of what we traditionally understand as healing, right? And the immense, often underestimated power of our internal world.
Absolutely. So what happened medically?
Upon examination, her uterus, which had been riddled with advanced cancer, was described by the source as cleaner than a virgin's.
Whoa.
Medically impossible for a woman who'd had 6 children and faced such a diagnosis.
Completely impossible by conventional standards. So what did she do?
When he asked her, she calmly explained her prescription. She had meticulously cut the piece of paper with his prescription on it into 60 tiny pieces, prayed an Ave Maria, a Hail Mary prayer, and took 1 tiny piece of paper morning and night.
So she basically took nothing, medically speaking.
Essentially, yeah. A sugar pill, or in this case, paper. This is a classic, deeply powerful example of the placebo effect.
And it's not just some isolated, bizarre incident, is it? We hear about the placebo effect in studies constantly.
All the time.
Not at all. And it's something that continues to, frankly, challenge conventional medicine. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the placebo effect is this well-known, sometimes even embarrassing element in double-blind clinical studies.
Right, where they try to control for it.
Exactly. We frequently see people taking inert substances, simple sugar pills, and experiencing significant healing, while sometimes people taking the actual medication don't improve as much or not at all.
It's wild.
It is. This phenomenon points directly to the immense power of our internal emotional system to actually establish healing. It's a huge field of study now in psychoneurology.
What's that exactly?
It's the science exploring the intricate connections between our mind, our emotions, and our nervous system. Researchers are actively looking at how our thoughts and beliefs can physically alter brain chemistry, maybe reduce inflammation, even strengthen the immune system.
So real physical changes.
Real physical changes, essentially awakening our body's own innate healing intelligence. It's not just about belief in an abstract sense, but the emotional system that gets activated by that belief, which then generates physiological change.
So bringing these threads together, this story and others like it, they really make us wonder, don't they? What makes some people, even victims of terrible abuse, trauma, extreme adversity, able to not only survive, but somehow not be completely destroyed or defined by their circumstances?
Right. They find a way through.
While conversely, others seem to find themselves entirely defined and limited by situations that might even seem less challenging from the outside.
It prompts this important question about our internal narrative, doesn't it? And our capacity for resilience. It seems it's not the circumstance itself that inherently defines us, but rather our response to it and the emotional system we activate when facing it.
Our response.
Yes. Some individuals, through this powerful inner resolve, maybe an activated sense of purpose, like the woman with the cancer and her children, they seem able to transcend their victimhood. They forge a path towards healing, towards at least a minimally happy life.
They refuse to just live in the pain.
Exactly. They refuse to live solely in the function of pain and trauma. Instead, they choose, consciously or unconsciously, to interpret their experiences as stepping stones, maybe, rather than just insurmountable stumbling blocks. They don't allow their circumstances to completely dictate their internal reality. They choose a path of agency somehow.
Okay, let's explore this further. Moving to our next insight. Our speaker shares another personal encounter, this time involving a friend who had advanced cancer.
Okay.
This friend went to see Chico Xavier, the renowned Brazilian medium, widely respected for his spiritual wisdom.
Ah, Chico Xavier. Yes.
The friend went basically expecting to just say goodbye.
Yeah.
The doctors had given him a very grim prognosis, basically indicating there wasn't much more they could do medically. He'd accepted it.
He'd given up hope, essentially.
Seems like it. But Chico, with his characteristic, maybe sometimes startling directness, asked him a very challenging question. He asked, "Do you want to die?"
Whoa, straight to the point.
Right. When his friend, probably startled, said no, Chico's response was so simple, yet profoundly impactful. He said, "Then say you don't want to. Have you spoken to the Father in heaven? Have you spoken to the doctor of doctors?"
What's fascinating there is the immediate challenge to external authority, even the medical authority, which the friend had just passively accepted as final.
Right, he just took the doctor's word as the end of the story.
But Chico pointed him towards a higher authority, urging him to actually vocalize his will to live directly to the divine.
Speak it out loud.
Speak it out loud. This isn't about denying the medical reality, but about activating that internal conviction, that desire for life, which can profoundly influence outcomes. It was a call to shift his perspective entirely.
From passive acceptance
To an active, heartfelt petition, a declaration of his deepest will. It emphasized that even when things seem insurmountable, there's an inner resolve that can be tapped into. A power we can claim.
So his friend went home, probably somewhat bewildered by Chico's simple yet profound advice. Maybe wondering, is it really that simple? Just talk to God directly like that.
Yeah, maybe feeling a bit lost.
But then he gets a phone call from a friend described as blunt. This friend suggests spiritual surgery with someone called Frei Luis in Rio.
Okay, another avenue opens up.
Yeah. Now, despite already undergoing advanced chemotherapy, this friend took a flight to Rio, which shows, again, his continued active pursuit of healing. He didn't just sit back after talking to Chico.
She acted on the possibility.
He acted. And what unfolded on that journey became this series of incredible synchronicities, almost miraculous interventions, really.
Synchronicities. Okay, tell me more. The anecdotes from that journey are truly remarkable, almost like something out of a movie.
Okay, get this one. He had this severe, debilitating bout of diarrhea on the way. Actually soiled his pants, left him in complete despair.
Oh, awful, helpless.
Totally helpless. In that moment, he prayed for objective help. Just please, concrete help right now.
What happened?
A woman in a passing car stops. And in this act of just pure compassion, gives him her husband's pants, fresh from the laundry.
You're kidding.
Nope, just gave him clean pants. Shortly after, he finds a taxi. The driver, despite a massive traffic jam, knows this shortcut through the city, getting him to Fray Luis just in the nick of time.
Wow. Okay.
But then another hurdle. No more features. The slots, the tickets for the spiritual treatment, they were all taken for the day.
Oh no, after all that.
Right. Until, miraculously, someone who had a slot had an emergency come up and had to leave, offering him their place.
Unbelievable. Just one thing after another falling into place.
An undeniable chain of highly improbable events.
Right.
Each one a timely answer to a prayer, or maybe to that activated will.
And this insight really extends to the idea that a deeply felt, objective plea, like his prayer for help, or even his earlier conversation with Chico, can manifest in surprising ways.
Yeah.
The spiritual mentor at Fray Luis apparently told him later, "You spoke to God with such force that none of us in the spiritual world can say what God moved for you to get here."
Wow.
Which suggests that a child's fervent, heartfelt request, born of true conviction and maybe desperation, can actually move the seemingly immovable.
Like a child asking a parent.
Exactly. It's a testament to that idea. If we, who are human and flawed, would rush to help our children, imagine what the Father in heaven would do when a heart cries out with such genuine desire and conviction. These synchronicities weren't random. They were a response to his activated will, his decision to live.
So the core lesson here, it seems, is that these stories, the woman with cancer, Chico's friend, and even Clingy's own personal experience with his wife's battle with H1N1, they all point to this crucial element beyond just asking.
Right, it's more than just asking.
It's about asking with conviction, yes, but it's also intrinsically intertwined with a profound feeling of deserving.
Ah, deserving. That's a tricky one for many people.
It is, and it raises this important question. How many of us, deep down, despite genuinely desiring healing or success or love, harbor this subtle, maybe even unconscious feeling of unworthiness?
Like we don't quite deserve the good things.
Exactly. Many people desire something deeply, but at the same time they believe they don't truly deserve it, which creates this powerful ambivalence, this internal conflict that acts as a block.
Yeah, I can see that. Where does that come from?
Well, the source suggests it often stems from a limited view of the sacred, of the divine. As if God, or the universe, or whatever you believe in, has these quotas or limited features for love and blessings.
Like there's only so much good stuff to go around.
Right. Rather than seeing it as an inexhaustible, omnipotent source of grace.
Yeah.
This limited perception of our own worthiness can actively prevent us from receiving, because we essentially create an internal barrier to any external help that might be offered.
We block ourselves.
We block ourselves. And this feeling of deserving is so powerful. Clingy shared a very personal experience about it.
His wife's illness.
Yes. When his wife was admitted to the ICU with bilateral pneumonia from H1N1, given a very grim prognosis by the doctors, he was flying home.
Okay.
And on the plane, he prayed with this intense conviction. I need her in my life. I need her. When I land in Campina, she needs to be well. Just this absolute demand almost.
Wow.
Upon landing, he received news that she was out of the ICU, completely defying the doctor's expectations.
Incredible.
And he attributes this profound shift directly to that movement of deserving, that moment of absolute clarity and conviction that he and his family deserve that grace, that healing.
And that precisely is the essence of what Jesus said to Bartimaeus. Your faith has healed you. It doesn't mean I'm doing some magic trick for you without your involvement. It means you moved yourself in such a way, you opened yourself, you insisted, you believed that you accessed what I have to give.
In a way, this entire multitude did not.
Exactly. It's about self-initiation to access grace. Clinley uses the analogy of a teacher in a classroom.
Okay.
You're giving your best, delivering great content, but some students are rolling their eyes, maybe convinced they don't need it, or they don't deserve to understand it, or they're just not engaged.
Right. They're closed off.
They're closed off. The knowledge, the grace, the potential is right there, but they aren't actively accessing it because of their internal state. The same applies, he suggests, to divine grace and our capacity for healing. We have to allow it in.
That's a great analogy. It really clarifies that internal block. And it's not just about abstract deserving in a purely spiritual sense, is it? He also connected it as something more grounded.
Yeah, the idea of autonomy.
Right. He highlighted that the first part of life for many is simply about paying the bills, achieving financial and emotional autonomy, becoming a self-sufficient individual.
Okay.
Living with purpose and feeling worthy of receding, he suggests, is often easier when someone else isn't footing all your bills, both literally and figuratively.
Interesting point.
He even warned against parents who, maybe with the best intentions, inadvertently destroy their children's potential by creating infantilized, inept, and incapable adults. Adults who then struggle with self-worth because they haven't truly earned their place or developed their own self-reliance. This idea of earning your place, of self-sufficiency, it ties deeply into feeling worthy of receiving help and grace later on. It's about developing that internal strength and independence first.
Okay, so to really embrace this deep dive, we need to kind of shift our perspective here. This revelation that healing isn't just about curing a physical thing, but it's often this invitation for profound personal change. Well, that changes the whole equation, doesn't it?
So what's the broader implication? The question shifts, right? From a frantic, how do I get rid of this pain? How do I fix this disease? To something more reflective, like, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What lesson am I supposed to learn here?
And this insight really extends to the idea that any state of discomfort, whether it's illness or even ongoing dysfunctional patterns in relationships or work.
Yeah, those patterns we get stuck in.
Exactly. They can be powerful, albeit often uncomfortable, invitations for personal transformation. The question truly becomes, have you genuinely understood what your disease is trying to teach you?
Or maybe what your complex family dynamics or that perpetually difficult relationship is trying to highlight within you.
Precisely. And sometimes the most profound lesson is that the best way to live a particular relationship is, well, not to live it at all.
Or at least not in the same unhealthy way.
Right. Or not in the same way. It's a call to deeply examine the patterns we perpetuate, often unconsciously.
And what's truly illuminating here is the distinction Klinge makes, drawing from his years of psychology practice. He talks about clinical depression versus what he frequently observes as oppression.
Oppression. Okay, explain that.
He notes that many patients aren't inherently depressive individuals, like with a chemical imbalance from the start. They are oppressed. They're living in environments or with people who actively diminish, humiliate, or control them daily.
So the depression is a result of the environment.
Exactly. It's not about being a depressive person by nature. It's about being a person who, because they are chronically oppressed, became depressed as a direct consequence.
That's a crucial difference, isn't it? Because it shifts the focus.
Completely. It shifts the focus from just an internal pathology that needs fixing with medication maybe, to looking at the external toxic dynamic that's causing the suffering.
And this raises that important question directly related to our listener's original query. Why do people often prefer to take medication just to endure what really shouldn't be endured?
Yeah, why numb the pain instead of removing the source?
Right. They choose to medicate the symptoms, to numb the pain, rather than confronting and removing the radioactive agent, as Klinge calls it, that's making them sick in the first place.
That's a powerful image. Radioactive agent.
It is. And he stresses this isn't usually karma, as some might mistakenly believe. It's often a conscious, albeit incredibly difficult choice to remain in toxic environments, maybe due to fear or habit or a perceived lack of options.
Yeah.
The source reminds us of that fundamental teaching. I came so that they might have life and have it more abundantly. Staying with those who oppress you or in situations that constantly diminish you is often a choice that actively prevents that abundant life, rather than being some unavoidable fate we just have to accept.
This leads us to a really fascinating point about, well, self-preservation and basic dignity. Think about it. If you wouldn't go back to a store where you were consistently mistreated, insulted, made to feel worthless,
You'd stop going there.
Of course. So why would you remain in a personal relationship or a job or any environment where you're subjected to the same treatment day after day?
Good question.
Klinge asks this very pointedly. You say you want the cure, you desire healing, but you stay right next to the agent that's making you sick.
It's like wanting to be cured of radiation sickness while deliberately setting up camp next to the radioactive material.
Exactly. The incongruity is just stark when you put it like that.
And this raises that essential question about self-love and courage. Often, the fundamental problem isn't just you in isolation. It's who is near you and the toxic dynamics you're allowing or participating in.
It takes two to tango, sometimes.
Often. The disease, in many cases, Klinge suggests, might be the body's desperate, visceral attempt to run from a situation the soul won't leave.
Wow, the body trying to escape.
Yeah, maybe due to fear or misplaced loyalty or just deeply ingrained patterns. It's like a profound physiological wake-up call. A call to develop strength of character, the courage to face life, to say clearly, I don't need to stay in this relationship, or I don't need to endure this job, or I refuse to participate in this pattern anymore.
That takes guts.
It takes real courage. Because in a society where people often love themselves too little, they frequently prefer bad company, even actively toxic company, over the perceived emptiness or maybe the dignity and peace of living their own solitude with self-love.
It's easier to stick with the devil you know.
Sometimes, yes. They'll reach for the antacid, the omeprazole, for gastritis caused by toxic relationships, rather than having the courage to set boundaries or distance themselves from the source of the emotional poison.
But crucially, this distancing doesn't always mean cutting ties completely, does it? Because that's not always possible or even desirable.
Exactly. That's a vital distinction. Sometimes distancing isn't about physically severing the connection. It can be about profound emotional distancing.
Okay, what does that look like?
It's about building an emotional shield, understanding and truly internalizing that this pain, this aggression, this negativity is about them, their issues, their patterns, and it's not about me.
Detaching from it emotionally.
Yes. It's about consciously refusing to buy everything a toxic person tries to deliver, their judgments, their criticisms, their attempts to diminish you. You just don't accept the package.
Refused delivery.
Refused delivery. It's an internal act of self-preservation, of boundary setting, where you protect your inner sanctuary even if external proximity is unavoidable, like with family or certain work situations. This is the deep inner work required for true healing, the work that allows you to stay well even amidst difficulty.
Okay, so let's unpack the very foundation of this personal transformation we've been discussing. The core of it so often comes back to this concept that sounds incredibly simple but is actually really challenging in practice.
Self-love.
The foundation.
Right. Klinji gave this powerful illustrative exercise in his lecture. He instructed the audience, close your eyes and think of 5 important people you'd do absolutely anything for. People you'd sacrifice for without a second thought.
Okay, got my 5.
Then he said, open your eyes. Who among you put themselves on that list?
The million-dollar question. It is. And what's truly fascinating and often quite sobering is how few people, Klinji said less than 5% in that particular audience actually include themselves on that list.
Wow, that low.
That low, which raises the critical question. If you don't instinctively put yourself on that list of people you do anything for, how can you genuinely expect to care for yourself, to prioritize your own well-being, or to even believe you deserve healing and happiness?
It's a powerful point. If you aren't important enough for your own list.
Right. He compares it to a hospital worker who diligently takes care of everyone else, feeding patients, ensuring their comfort, tracking their hydration, but completely neglects their own food, sleep, and hydration.
What happens?
Eventually, they become the patient themselves. They burn out. They collapse.
Makes sense.
And this isn't about narcissism, he stresses. It's the fundamental principle embedded in so many traditions. Love thy neighbor as thyself. The as thyself part is crucial. You can't sustainably give to your neighbor or anyone else from an empty cup. Self-love is the wellspring from which all other compassion has to flow.
And this ties into a broader spiritual and philosophical concept too, doesn't it? Beyond just personal well-being.
It absolutely does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Klinji suggests many people struggle to genuinely feel or accept God's love or divine grace because they don't experience self-love first. They often feel fundamentally unworthy of it.
Can't receive what you feel you don't deserve.
Exactly. The spiritual trinity of love, according to our source, is God, self, and others, existing in this dynamic, harmonious balance.
God, self, others. Okay.
When this balance is broken, for instance, if you consistently place someone else above yourself to the point of self-neglect, or maybe even place someone or something above God in your life, the entire system becomes unbalanced.
Throws everything off kilter.
Right. And that imbalance, he argues, leads to emotional, psychological, physical, and ultimately spiritual illness. Homeostasis, that idea of internal balance, applies just as much to our emotional and psychological states as it does to our physical body.
So when this internal equilibrium is broken,
we become acutely susceptible to illness in all its forms, because we're fundamentally out of alignment with our true nature, with that essential balance. So what does all this mean for our actual capacity to change? Because many of us cling to these comforting, but really limiting excuses, right?
oh yeah, Like what?
Like, oh, I've always been this way, or you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or a tree that grows crooked dies crooked, or like father, like son. These fatalistic views just stifle any real attempt at personal growth.
We tell ourselves these stories.
We do.
Yeah.
But our sources challenge this directly, and quite profoundly. Klinge gives this great, simple analogy. If you take a crooked plant, a little sapling growing sideways, and you tie it firmly to a broomstick or a stake.
Give it support.
Exactly. Over time, it will straighten.
Yeah.
You are actively changing its tendency, its ingrained pattern of growth. By providing that support and direction, it can change.
That's a good visual. So it raises the question, why do we so often resist the possibility of profound personal change? Why cling to those rigid identities?
Yeah, boy.
Well, the concept of conversion, Klinge points out, has often been oversimplified in common language, reduced to just changing your religion or maybe your political affiliation.
Right, just switching labels.
But true conversion, as powerfully exemplified by Saul of Tarsus becoming Paul on the road to Damascus, that's a radical change of attitude, a complete internal transformation.
A whole new operating system.
Exactly, a new operating system that can happen within any belief system or even with no belief system at all. It's about a fundamental shift in one's way of being, not just an external label.
And this relates to rituals too.
Yes. The source strongly critiques empty rituals, emphasizing that famous line, what contaminates is not what enters the mouth, but what comes out. Your words, your actions, your attitude. Rituals, whether they're religious or secular, of like daily meditation maybe, or weekly services, or even just habitually saying, I'm sorry, they are meant to be an invitation to change your attitude. They're not a substitute for it.
Just going through the motions isn't enough.
Not if the inside doesn't change. Think about how often we might go through the motions without genuine internal alignment, without a true shift in our behavior afterward. The source implies that true spiritual practice isn't about the outward observance itself, but the internal transformation it's supposed to facilitate. If our inner landscape stays the same, the ritual risks becoming just a performance, a comforting, maybe, but ultimately ineffective pacifier.
This leads us to a really fascinating insight about the timing of transformation. When can this change actually happen?
Right.
If we truly want real, lasting change, the source argues, we have to disentangle ourselves from two times that constantly distract us, constantly imprison us, yesterday and tomorrow.
The past and the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only time we genuinely have to initiate change, to make a new choice, to become that new creature, is now, this very moment.
But we spend so little time here.
So little. Klinge points out maybe half of humanity is stuck in past grievances, resentments, regrets, reliving old hurts, while the other half is consumed by anxiety about the future, constantly projecting, worrying, planning for scenarios that may never happen.
What about today?
Exactly. What about today? What about this precious present moment? It's the only place we actually live.
And what's profoundly insightful here is the emphasis on mindfulness, not just as a technique, but as a way of being fully present and aware.
Easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely. People might diligently meditate or pray for 20 minutes, but the moment their phone rings or someone cuts them off in traffic or an email triggers them,
Bang. Back to old patterns.
instantly back to old behaviors, anger, judgment, anxiety. This indicates that those rituals, though maybe well-intentioned, often become what Klinge calls pacifying rituals.
Pacifying rituals. Okay.
They maintain a false sense of peace, maybe, without truly changing the underlying behavior or the habitual thought patterns.
So what does true change require?
True, authentic change requires focusing intensely on the present behavior and thought patterns, recognizing them as they arise, and actively choosing a different path, a different response in that very moment.
In the moment.
Yes, which raises this important question. Many people seek the cure, right? They focus intensely on the disease itself, on the problem. But in doing so, they might subtly be reaffirming its presence, its power over them.
Interesting. So what's the alternative?
The deeper wisdom, the source suggests, is to shift the focus, to say, okay, this illness, this struggle, this is an invitation for change. How I've been living, how I've been thinking brought me here. I need to change my personality, my thoughts, my reactions to change my reality.
And that change will generate the cure.
Exactly. That profound inner shift will ultimately generate the cure, or the resolution, or the peace. It's a subtle but deeply profound shift in focus and agency, from victim to active participant in one's own transformation.
So what's the broader implication here? To truly change our thoughts and therefore our reality, we have to be willing to change our personality, our ingrained patterns of being. our default settings. And to change our personality, we need self-knowledge, a clear understanding of who we actually are, not just who we think we are or who we present ourselves to be.
Self-knowledge. Sounds daunting.
It can sound that way, but it doesn't have to be some complex, abstract, philosophical quest. Cringy gives this simple, incredibly relatable exercise to illustrate it. He asks, who are you in your family WhatsApp group?
Okay, that's specific.
Right. Are you the one who's always spreading the fake news or stirring up conflict? Are you playing the victim? Or are you consistently the peacemaker, the one trying to bring calm and understanding?
That's a very practical entry point into self-reflection, isn't it? Beyond abstract ideas.
Totally.
It's about identifying our patterns in these everyday, often unconscious interactions, the roles we instinctively fall into.
And beyond the WhatsApp group dynamic, how else can we cultivate this self-knowledge?
Well, consistent journaling can be huge. Actively seeking honest feedback from trusted friends or mentors, asking about your blind spots, or simply observing your emotional triggers throughout the day. What thoughts consistently pull you down? What beliefs are you holding on to that limit your potential?
Paying attention.
Paying attention. Are you part of what Quingy calls a subscription TV package family?
What does that mean?
Where you're kind of stuck with certain channels, certain relatives you don't necessarily like or resonate with, but they're part of the package deal. You can't just cancel them.
Ah, okay. Most families have a few of those channels.
Probably. The question then becomes, how do you coexist within this package? What role are you playing? Are you facilitating connection? Are you pacifying conflict? Are you caretaking?
And crucially,
if you are doing all that facilitating, pacifying, caring, are you neglecting yourself in the process? Are you allowing others' patterns and dramas to define your own peace, your own well-being?
which loops right back to that 5 important people list we talked about.
Exactly. If you consistently care for everyone else but yourself isn't even on the list, you're inadvertently on the path to becoming the patient, rather than maintaining the strength and capacity to be the caregiver. Because you're neglecting that fundamental need for self-love and self-preservation.
Okay, let's widen the lens a bit now. Let's unpack a broader societal challenge that directly impacts our inner peace and our capacity for healing.
Society itself.
Yeah, our society, particularly amplified through platforms like social media, actively promotes what Clingy calls desamor.
Desamor, lack of love.
Yeah, a profound lack of love, often manifesting as division, judgment, comparison, superficiality. He warns that just 14 minutes of scrolling through your social media feed can neurochemically trigger envy, block the release of beneficial endorphins, and flood your system with cortisol, the stress hormone.
Just 14 minutes. Wow.
Because everyone else's curated feed shows them as perfectly happy, wildly successful, eating amazing food, blissfully married. Except you, apparently.
The comparison trap.
It's a constant bombardment of often curated lies, subtle or not so subtle, hate, political division, outrage. It just leaves you feeling depleted, inadequate, and profoundly out of sync with yourself and maybe even reality.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it presents this critical paradox, doesn't it? How can anyone possibly expect to cultivate inner peace and achieve profound healing while constantly immersing themselves in environments that actively fuel hatred, division, comparison, and judgment?
It's like trying to grow a delicate flower in toxic soil.
Exactly. This isn't just about avoiding negativity. It's about actively cultivating environments, both external, like your social media diet, and internal, like your thought patterns that actually support your inner peace and well-being.
And that neurochemical response you mentioned, the cortisol.
It's profound. Cortisol, the stress hormone, when it's chronically elevated, can suppress your immune system, disrupt sleep, impair cognitive function, elevate anxiety.
So real physical consequences.
Absolutely. Being chronically online in a toxic space isn't just mentally draining, it's physically detrimental. Which brings us back to that invitation. Come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest.
There's a condition, right?
There's a crucial caveat. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. You cannot truly desire peace without striving to be peace. You can't genuinely want the cure while simultaneously being the disease of anger, resentment, and judgment towards those who hold differing views.
Ouch. That's challenging.
It is. It challenges us to reflect deeply. Are we contributing to this societal desamor, this lack of love? Or are we actively seeking to embody peace and compassion even when it's difficult?
Which reminds me of that prayer.
St. Francis of Assisi's prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. It captures it beautifully. He asks to be made an instrument, acknowledging his own human struggle against being contentious, hateful, or divisive.
It's an active request for help.
It's an active petition to allow divine influence, or maybe just our higher self, to transform our innate tendencies, rather than passively falling into the negative, toxic patterns swirling around us in society.
So what's the broader implication of this whole holistic view of healing? If disease, as we've explored, often has these profound psychological and spiritual roots, why do we so often think that health can be only physical? That the solution is only pills or procedures?
Right. It's a disconnect.
It's crucial to understand, and Clinchy's very clear about this isn't about disregarding medical treatment. Conventional medicine is vital and necessary.
Absolutely. Not anti-medicine at all.
No. But it is about recognizing that if the roots of an ailment go deeper, if they're emotional, psychological, spiritual, then the solution must also be more profound. It needs to address those underlying causes.
You can't really solve a spiritual problem with only material means.
And expect lasting transformative results. It just doesn't work long term.
And this highlights that crucial imbalance in our contemporary approach to well-being. If, say, 99% of people spend their days immersed in thoughts of fear, anger, resentment, hate, maybe fueled by that social media feed.
Yeah.
Yet they expect a miraculous cure for their physical ailments. There's a fundamental disconnect between their internal state and their desired outcome.
Doesn't add up.
It doesn't. This might help explain why, in that multitude surrounding Jesus, maybe only one person, Bartimaeus, was cured.
Because he did the inner work.
He was the one willing to abandon his cape of victimhood, to leave his toxic environment, metaphorically speaking, and to embrace a different personality, a different worldview, one aligned with persistence, faith, and ultimately coexistence rather than conflict.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, think about the parable of the Good Samaritan.
Ah, yes. Classic.
The religious figures, the priest and the Levite, they passed by the man beaten and left for dead. But the hated Samaritan, the outsider, the one from whom no compassion was expected, he stops and provides help.
It symbolizes challenging our prejudices, doesn't it?
Completely. Interacting with those we might despise or cancel socially in today's terms. Recognizing that love and compassion often come from the most unexpected sources.
Or from those we've been taught to judge.
Exactly. It's an invitation to break down those internal barriers of judgment and embrace a more universal, inclusive empathy for others and maybe just as importantly, for ourselves. Okay, this next story offers a really chilling look at the danger of inaction, of omission, where our internal state affects not just us, but our collective well-being. Clinchy shares the true and deeply disturbing story of Kitty Genovese from the 1960s, a young woman who was repeatedly stabbed outside her apartment building in New York.
Oh, I know this story. It's awful.
It is. Reportedly, dozens of people, the number often cited as 38, though later questioned, the point remains, opened their windows, saw or heard parts of what was happening over a period of time, but did nothing.
Why?
Each apparently assumed someone else would call the police, or maybe they were afraid or didn't want to get involved.
It's a classic tragic example of diffusion of responsibility in social psychology. The more people who witness something, the less likely any single individual feels personally responsible to act.
Someone else will handle it.
Right. And this raises that profound question for all of us, echoing Rabbi Hill's timeless wisdom. If not I, who? If not now, when?
Yeah.
And this isn't just about external actions like calling the police. It's also about our internal commitment to change, to healing. When our emotional reaction to a person or a situation is so intense, so overwhelming that it paralyzes us.
Freezes us.
Exactly. Traps us in past emotions of hurt or anger or fear. We forfeit our belief in a different, better future. We become spectators in our own lives, just watching things happen.
Waiting for someone else to make the call, to make the change, to provide the cure for us.
Yes. And that internal paralysis can be just as damaging, maybe even more so, than external inaction. It locks us into cycles of suffering, preventing us from moving forward.
So what does all this mean for our individual journey? For answering that initial question, do I allow myself to be cured?
The consistent invitation throughout this whole deep dive, from all these different angles, is always for profound personal change. For a radical conversion of attitude.
A shift in being.
Exactly. As the Apostle Paul says so powerfully in 2 Corinthians 5:17, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come.
The old has gone. The new is here.
The new creation.
Again, this isn't about changing your religion necessarily or adopting a new set of dogmas. It's about becoming a new creature internally. Someone who doesn't need to endure the old things, doesn't need to repeat the old painful patterns because their internal landscape has fundamentally transformed.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Paul goes even further in Galatians 6.15. He says something really radical. Neither circumcision nor uncircumcision means anything. What counts is the new creation.
Wow, that downplays external rituals quite strongly. Hugely. This powerful statement transcends mere religious rituals, affiliations, or external practices. It basically means that being evangelical, spiritual, Catholic, Buddhist, or atheist, the external label means nothing compared to the fundamental inner renewal of attitude.
The internal transformation is what matters.
That's what counts. The complete transformation of one's character and way of being in the world. Disease, then, or suffering, often becomes this urgent, undeniable invitation to make that change. To realize, okay, maybe you are exaggerating this behavior, this pattern. Perhaps now is the time to finally change and liberate yourself.
The illness as a catalyst.
A catalyst, a call to move beyond superficial labels and identities to genuine, profound inner transformation.
Okay, let's unpack this concept of transformation even further. Klinge outlines this profound evolution in how we respond to conflict, to aggression. It's like a rising scale of consciousness.
A hierarchy of response.
Yeah, it helps us understand where we might stand in our personal journey toward true internal and external peace.
And it offers this important framework for self-assessment, doesn't it? A way to reflect. Where are we on this spectrum? From that really primitive reaction all the way up to profound, transcendent love.
Okay, so what's level 1?
Level 1, crime punishment. Basically, an offense merits a disproportionate ultimate penalty.
Like extreme overreaction.
Totally. For example, you bump into me, my response is to inflict serious harm. The punishment far, far exceeds the crime. It's driven by raw vengeance, a desire for total annihilation of the perceived aggressor. This is the most primitive, instinctual response where pure rage dictates the outcome.
Okay, pretty brutal. What's next?
Level 2, lex talionis. This is the familiar concept. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Okay, retaliation, but equal.
Correct. Here, the retribution is meant to match the offense. If you hit me, I hit you back, but only equally. There's a kind of nascent sense of justice, or at least balance, an attempt to prevent that disproportionate retaliation we saw in level 1, but it's still fundamentally based on direct retaliation, on the reciprocity of harm.
Still vengeance, but controlled vengeance.
Exactly. It's a step towards order, maybe, but still firmly within the realm of getting even.
Okay, level 3 feels very, very contemporary. Level 3, narrative war.
Oh, absolutely. This is where, when someone wrongs us or we just perceive them as a threat, we engage in verbal and social aggression instead of physical.
Like online.
Often online, yes, but also in person. We label them, you're bad, you're evil, you're left-wing, you're right-wing, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're canceled. We wage war through words and labels,
trying to destroy their reputation.
seeking to diminish, discredit, or destroy the reputation and social standing. It's a battle of narratives, often hugely magnified in today's digital landscape. The goal is basically to dehumanize the other person and rally allies to our side by painting them as monstrous. It's about inflicting social and emotional harm.
Okay, and it escalates even from there.
Yeah.
To level 4, moral judgment.
Yes. Here, we escalate beyond just social labels to judging their very spiritual or moral state. We say things like, you'll go to hell, or you're unenlightened, or you're spiritually bankrupt. We claim moral superiority, believing we have the right to condemn their very being, their soul, often without physical violence, but with this immense spiritual weight behind the judgment.
Playing God, almost.
Pretty much. This is where we assume the role of divine arbiter, believing we know another's ultimate fate or spiritual standing, which can be incredibly arrogant and destructive.
Okay. The next level, level 5, self-love and sacred boundaries, feels like a really significant shift, a turning point.
It absolutely is. And it's arguably where the journey of real healing and transformation truly begins for many people. This is where you internally declare, I do not permit you to touch the sacred temple of God, which is me.
Recognizing your own worth.
Yes. Recognizing one's inherent worth, maybe even divine likeness. Understanding that you are a vessel of the sacred, and therefore you refuse to accept aggression or to project it back onto the other person.
So you don't retaliate.
You don't retaliate in kind. Instead, you establish clear, firm, but maybe even loving boundaries. It's a deep act of self-respect and self-protection. understanding that you don't deserve such treatment and you will not allow yourself to be diminished by it. It's about standing firmly in your own power without needing to dominate or condemn others.
That sounds much healthier. And finally, the highest level, level 6, transcendent love. This sounds almost beyond human capacity sometimes.
It is transformative, and it represents perhaps the pinnacle of human consciousness in response to aggression. It's where aggression is completely disarmed by an overwhelming feeling of love or compassion.
So you feel love for the aggressor.
The feeling is described as, I cannot hit this person, there's so much love, I want to embrace them. In this state, the aggressor is rendered powerless to cause harm because their aggression is met not with resistance, not with fear, not with retaliation, but with an open, loving heart. It's a state where love itself becomes the ultimate shield and the ultimate solution, dissolving the very intention of harm before it can land. This ascension of consciousness, achieved through profound self-knowledge and self-love, leads to that fundamental change in thought and attitude.
So love literally covers the sin.
A gesture of love, indeed, as the saying goes, covers a multitude of sins, meaning it resolves potential suffering by reframing and transforming the experience itself, preventing the cycle of pain and retaliation from continuing.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
it leads ultimately to that profound wisdom expressed by Paul in Romans. In everything, give thanks.
Give thanks for everything, even the bad stuff.
It's not about naive positivity or ignoring suffering. It's about developing the profound capacity to immediately interpret any event, even suffering or aggression, for the lesson it holds, for the growth it offers, fostering an unwavering state of peace and love within oneself, regardless of external circumstances.
It's using your interpretation.
It's an active choice of interpretation and internal processing. That's the ultimate freedom, perhaps.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener, as we wrap up this deep dive? We've journeyed through this profound question. Do I allow myself to be cured? We've explored how physical healing is so intricately linked to our emotional, psychological, and spiritual transformation.
Of all connected.
From Bartimaeus' active, insistent pursuit of healing, to the miraculous placebo effect shown by that woman with cancer, to the profound insights of spiritual figures like Chico Xavier and the practical wisdom of psychologists like Klinge.
The message seems consistent, doesn't it?
Undeniably clear. Healing is, at its core, an inside job.
It really is. It boils down to our willingness, doesn't it? Our willingness to courageously shed those old identities, those limiting beliefs, those beggar's capes, to wholeheartedly embrace self-love, not as vanity, but as a fundamental principle for well-being, to courageously set healthy boundaries, even when it's difficult.
To really understand what life's challenges, even our diseases, might be trying to teach us.
Yes. And most importantly, perhaps, to commit to that change now. Not tomorrow, not next year, but now. Not remaining stuck in the past or anxiously waiting for some indeterminate future that never arrives.
So consider this as you reflect on our conversation today. If your body, in its deep wisdom, might be trying to run from a situation that your soul, maybe out of fear or habit or obligation, just won't leave.
Powerful question to sit with.
What small yet courageous step can you take today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but maybe in this very moment or later today. A step to change your attitude, to subtly shift your personality, to reclaim your power.
And ultimately
to liberate your immense, often untapped capacity for profound healing and truly an excellent, fulfilling life. The choice, the transformation, it really does start with you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful and blessed day.